I stopped keeping track of the days. I don't know how long it had been since I first heard the whispers. Maybe a week, maybe more. But I knew where they wanted me to go. They whispered it every night, the same place, the same name, Whisper Hollow. I told myself I'd never go back there, not after what I saw. The tent, the carvings, the pit full of bones and badges. But something had changed. The whispers weren't just calling me now. They were pulling. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. My thoughts weren't my own anymore. Sometimes I'd catch myself standing at the edge of the forest in the middle of the night, barefoot, flashlight in hand, not remembering how I got there. Other times, I'd wake up with dirt under my nails and no memory of digging. The forest wanted me, and part of me was starting to want it back. That's when I made the choice. I had to end it, or at least try. So I packed my bag, flares, knife, water, the last page of the journal, and set out just before dusk. I didn't bring the whole book, just the one page I couldn't stop staring at. The one that said, "If you follow the voice, it leads you to the hollow one. Burn it. That's the only way to shut the mouth." The trail was almost invisible now, overgrown, swallowed by trees, but I followed the sound. Not the whispers this time, my voice. It echoed through the forest, calling my name over and over. "I'm still here. Don't be scared. You're almost home." The deeper I went, the colder it got. The air felt thick, like breathing through wet cotton. Then I saw it. At first, I thought it was just a massive tree, wider than a cabin, bark black as charcoal, cracked and twisted like burned skin. But it wasn't just a tree. It had a mouth, a long, dark hollow running down the center. No branches, no leaves, just a tall, gaping wound in the forest. And from inside that hollow, my voice echoed back at me. "I'm still here." The air buzzed. The trees around it creaked and shifted like they were leaning in to listen. I stepped closer. The bark pulsed like it was breathing. The ground beneath me was soft, spongy, like flesh instead of soil. Then I saw them. Faces, dozens of them. Some were pressed into the bark. Others hung half-formed from the trunk like melting wax, their mouths open, their eyes wide with fear or pain, or maybe both. I recognized one, Tom, the old ranger who gave me my keys on my first day. His face was stretched, twisted into the side of the tree. His eyes blinked, his lips moved. "Don't let it take you." I nearly screamed. Then all the faces spoke at once. Not loud, just a soft whisper that filled the clearing like fog. "Join us. Speak again. Be hollow." I lit the flare. My hand shook so hard I almost dropped it, but the fire roared to life, casting red light across the nightmare tree. The faces screamed, all of them. The tree writhed, the bark cracked open wider. A flood of whispers poured out, screaming, crying, laughing, all in voices I recognized. My mother, my old teacher, the hikers, Harris, me. "Please don't. It's too late. This is your place now." I threw the flare into the hollow. For a second, nothing happened. Then the tree screamed. Not a sound I can describe, not human, not animal, just raw pain. The roots tore out of the ground like claws. The forest shook. Birds exploded from the branches. Wind howled through the clearing like 1,000 voices escaping at once. I stumbled back as flames erupted from inside the hollow, licking up the trunk, catching every screaming face in its path. One by one, they went silent. But the last voice to fade was mine. I'm still here. Then, silence. Real silence. No whispers, no wind, just stillness. I fell to my knees, coughing from the smoke. The hollow one burned bright against the night sky, fire reaching into the stars like it wanted to tear the sky apart. And then, it collapsed. The trunk split down the middle, the faces vanished into ash, the roots crumbled, and the forest went still. I didn't move for a long time, just sat there, breathing. For the first time in weeks, it was quiet, truly quiet. No voices, no copies, no lies, just trees, real trees. When I finally stood and looked around, I noticed something. The other trees, the ones with faces, were just trees again. No eyes, no mouths, no watchers. I hiked back to the cabin in the dark. No flashlight, no fear. The forest didn't feel alive anymore, just tired, wounded, and maybe, finally, asleep. I reached the cabin just as the sun was rising. I sat on the porch, watching the light return, waiting to see if anything followed me back. Nothing did. Not that night. But I couldn't shake one thought. The hollow one burned, but it whispered my voice until the end.
I thought it was over. After the hollow one burned, the forest went quiet. No whispers, no laughter, no voices pretending to be mine. I even slept for the first time in days. A deep, dreamless sleep. I woke to birds chirping outside the window. Real ones this time. Sunlight poured through the cracks in the blinds. The air didn't feel heavy anymore. The trees looked like trees again. No faces, no shadows watching me from the edge of the clearing. I thought I was free. I cleaned the cabin, packed my things, even radioed HQ. They said a team would be by in a few days to check the area and escort me out. I didn't mention the whispers. I didn't say what I'd seen. They wouldn't believe me anyway. That afternoon, I stood by the cabin door, looking out at the woods one last time. Everything felt still, safe, but I couldn't shake it. The voice, the way it said, "I'm still here," as the hollow one burned. My voice. Was it really gone? Or had I just burned a piece of something much bigger? I stayed one more night, just to be sure. I set no traps, no earplugs, no duct tape over my mouth. If they were still out there, I wanted to know. I sat by the window in the dark and waited. Nothing happened. No knocks, no voices, no tapping on the glass. Just quiet. Real quiet. So I let my guard down. Big mistake. When I got back to HQ the next day, everything felt off. People smiled, talked, went about their routines, but something was missing. Something subtle. One ranger, Donna, said, "Glad you made it out. We were worried. You had us scared." I smiled, nodded, thanked her. She paused, gave me a weird look. You already said that," she muttered and walked off. I hadn't said anything else to her. Later, someone else said, "Didn't you stop by yesterday?" I hadn't. By the time I reached the city, things got worse. My phone had voicemails, 5 of them, all from my number. Each message was about 30 seconds long. Each one was me, whispering, "Are you still there? I missed the woods. Let me back in." I threw the phone in the trash, but it kept happening. I stayed in a motel, changed numbers, didn't tell anyone where I was. Still, at night I'd hear faint whispers through the vents, sometimes from the mirror. I'd see my own reflection pause when I didn't, smile when I didn't. Sometimes, when I opened my mouth to speak,
The words came out wrong, like someone else was puppeting my tongue. Like the voice was just a little too smooth, too steady. One night I turned on the TV and it flicked to static. Then a voice came through the speakers. "We don't need the trees anymore. We have you." I smashed the TV and left. The next day, I visited a doctor, told them I wasn't sleeping, that I was hearing things, seeing myself where I shouldn't be. They ran tests, scans, asked about stress, trauma, meds. They didn't find anything wrong. Of course they didn't, because it wasn't in me, it was me. I left town and moved halfway across the country, changed everything, name, job, haircut. I stopped talking unless I had to, stayed away from parks, from woods, from anything with trees. But even then, the whispers found me. They didn't come from the woods anymore. They came from inside. Late at night, I'd lie in bed, mouth shut tight, hands gripping the blankets, and I'd hear it. My voice, coming from under the bed. "Still here, still you, still waiting." I tried drowning it out with music. Didn't work. I tried screaming to make it stop. That made it worse, because when I screamed, I didn't recognize the sound. One night I turned on the TV and it flicked to static. Then a voice came through the speakers. "We don't need the trees anymore. We have you." I smashed the TV and left. The next day, I visited a doctor, told them I wasn't sleeping, that I was hearing things, seeing myself where I shouldn't be. They ran tests, scans, asked about stress, trauma, meds. They didn't find anything wrong. Of course they didn't, because it wasn't in me, it was me. I left town and moved halfway across the country, changed everything, name, job, haircut. I stopped talking unless I had to, stayed away from parks, from woods, from anything with trees. But even then, the whispers found me. They didn't come from the woods anymore. They came from inside. Late at night, I'd lie in bed, mouth shut tight, hands gripping the blankets, and I'd hear it. My voice, coming from under the bed. "Still here, still you, still waiting." I tried drowning it out with music. Didn't work. I tried screaming to make it stop. That made it worse, because when I screamed, I didn't recognize the sound. One night I turned in the mirror and said my name, and the reflection didn't move. It just stared. Then slowly, the mouth opened and it whispered, "You shouldn't have spoken." I haven't spoken out loud since, not once. I write everything down, notes, lists, questions. My voice isn't mine anymore. And it's not just that. Every few weeks, someone goes missing back in Cassock Hollow. Hikers, campers, even another ranger. Same pattern. Vanished without a trace. I read the articles. They always say the same thing. No signs of struggle. Tents left behind. Belongings untouched. I know what really happened. They heard a voice. A friendly one. A loved one. Maybe even their own. And they answered. Just like I did. That's the price. Not death. Replacement. You don't vanish. You're rewritten, taken, hollowed out. The voice wears your face, your skin, your memories. And the world keeps spinning, because no one notices when the whispers smile. I'm writing this because I don't know how much longer I'll be me. I can feel it now, slipping. When I talk in my head, it answers before I finish. When I think something sad, it laughs. And sometimes I look in the mirror and see myself blink twice. I burned the hollow one, but I didn't burn the truth. Once they hear your voice, they never forget it. So if you ever find yourself in the woods, and the wind is still, and the silence feels too heavy, and you hear someone, anyone, say your name, don't answer. Don't whisper back. Don't speak, because they'll know, and they'll come for you too.
It's been 3 months since I left the forest. I live in the mountains now, higher up, colder. No trees near the cabin, just rocks, wind, and snow. It's quiet, but the kind of quiet that's real, not the kind that watches. I work at a ski lodge, maintenance, no night shifts. I keep to myself. The people are kind, but I don't talk to them unless I have to. I write things down when I can, keep my voice low when I can't avoid speaking. Most of the time I stay silent, safer that way. I thought the distance would help, but the truth is, I brought it with me. The first time I realized something was still wrong, I was brushing my teeth. Looked in the mirror. Nothing strange at first, just my face, tired and pale from lack of sleep. Then I turned around. But in the mirror, I didn't. The reflection kept brushing, slow, methodical, not matching me at all. I stood frozen, toothbrush still in hand, watching as the reflection slowly turned its head to look at me. It smiled. I smashed the mirror with the first thing I could grab. My hand bled, but I didn't care. Since then, I've covered every mirror in the cabin. No reflections, no chances. But it hasn't stopped. A week later, my boss told me something strange. "You came by my office twice yesterday," he said, raising an eyebrow. "Said the same thing both times. Exact same words." I hadn't seen him at all. That same night, I checked my phone, my new phone, and saw a voicemail. Blocked number. I played it. It was me, laughing, then whispering, "You're not the only one with this face now. Say something. Let me in again." I dropped the phone, left it on the floor. I don't use it anymore. Then last week, I tried to tell someone my story. A hiker at the lodge bar was talking about strange places he'd visited. He mentioned old trails near Cassock Hollow. I froze. My stomach twisted. I told him, quietly, not to go there, that the forest isn't right. I started explaining everything, and he looked at me strange. Said I told you this yesterday. But I hadn't seen him before. He swore up and down I sat with him the night before. Same clothes, same voice, same story. Even laughed at the same parts. I hadn't been there. I'd been in my room. Doors locked, curtains closed. That's when I knew. It got out. Or maybe it never left. I keep hearing things now. Low whispers, but not like before. These are different. They don't try to lure me back. They pretend to be me. They say what I say just a second later. They follow my thoughts. Sometimes I'll say a word and I'll hear it echo from the other side of the room. Softer, slower, but still me. Other times, I'll think something, just a word or a phrase, and I'll hear it whispered in my ear before I've even spoken. Like something's ahead of me. Like it's waiting for me to fall completely quiet so it can take over. I think the hollow one wasn't the only one of its kind. It was just the mouth. The voice, the thing behind the voice, is still here. It doesn't need trees anymore. It has me, or what's left of me, and it's growing bolder. Last night, I woke up to the sound of myself humming. But I wasn't humming. My mouth was closed. Yet, from the other side of the room, I heard it. The same tune I used to hum when I was scared. It hummed for 10 full minutes. Then it stopped. Then silence. Then, just before I fell back to sleep, it whispered, "Almost ready." Today, I tried recording my voice. I wanted to hear myself, see if it was still mine. I said, "My name is..." I stopped, because the voice that came out was not mine. It was lower, slower, too calm, and it smiled while it spoke. Not my mouth, my reflections. I don't know how long I have left. Maybe it already happened. Maybe I'm not the one writing this right now. Maybe it's just using my memories, my habits, my tone. Maybe this is how it spreads. One word at a time, one voice at a time. I'm not even sure if the warning matters anymore, but if you're reading this, if you've made it to the end, just listen to this part. If you ever go camping and you find yourself in a forest, too quiet, if the air feels wrong, if you hear your name whispered in the dark, don't answer. Don't ask who's there. Don't say hello. Don't speak at all. Because it only takes one word. That's all it needs. And once it knows your voice, it never lets go. Outro. If you made it this far, thank you. If you ever go camping, don't talk after midnight. I mean it. And if you liked this story, stay tuned for the next one. It only gets darker from here.